Today's October 17th, 2022, and I've got my stands made for this AMC 20 I'm going to start working on, and puts it at a better height for me, so I don't have to do any real bending or anything. You just sit here, kind of easy to reach level on my stool, and pretty stable. I've got this motion taken care of for when I'm doing something, trying to get the pinion out. I got motion for this direction when I'm having to work, in obviously in that direction there. So at this point, I'm gonna start cleaning this thing up, kind of wire brushing, wire wheeling, and what have you, to get all the debris off of it and prep for some paint. All right, here we go. All right, this is about an hour's worth of cleaning. I'll call it cleaning stage 1, because at this point, I'm gonna start to disassemble. And what I'll do is, once I've got it completely disassembled, I'll clean the whole thing in stage 2 and scrub it with kerosene real good, and then probably wipe it down with lacquer thinner or something like that. Then prime and paint it, and then go to after I clean it, I'm thinking out loud here. I will I'm going to disassemble it now. Then when I go to putting it back together, after it's back together, then I will do a final cleaning once everything is sealed up, and then do the priming and painting. That way, nothing is getting touched at that point. It's just letting it dry and get ready to put it back in the vehicle. So anyway, this is pretty clean. Hey, you can see the embossed lettering now. So, and what I used was a combination of things. I've got this wire wheel here, this one here. I've got some other things, and all this stuff I picked up at Harbor Freight. I picked up a whole kit of, there was like 5 or 6 different types of wheels for that thing. It was on sale for like $6 or something like that. And then I got some for this pneumatic one as well, a little smaller detail stuff. This here, another little wire wheel I haven't used yet. There's some more right there, but anyway, pennies on the dollar. So yeah, that was about an hour's worth of work. And now that it's relatively clean, I can start tearing it apart. What I didn't want to do is start taking it apart and getting all this grease and dirt and stuff falling inside there. So at least now I'll minimize that. I'll get everything pulled out. I'll clean the inside of it out with brake cleaner and let it dry and stuff, and then start, like I said, assembling, getting everything set up right, and then putting it all back together, and then I'll do my final cleaning before I prime and paint. So, all right, moving on to getting this drum off. So that's going to take a combination of dead blow hammer persuasion and probably a couple of pry flathead screwdrivers. So here we go. Okay, getting that drum off was a whole lot easier than the other one. I just got my pry bars in there, my 2 flathead screwdrivers, and pried against the backing plate, and against the drum, so it came off pretty easily. And so what I got here is brake pads are actually not in too bad a shape. About half worn, I guess. But like I said, I'll go ahead and replace all that new hardware and stuff. That stuff is pennies on the dollar, so it'll be nice and clean. So what I want to do is pay close attention to the way things are set up here with regard to the springs, and the way this cable wraps around. That's part of the self-adjusting mechanism there, if I remember correctly, from auto mechanics in high school. So I'm gonna take some pictures now, and then I'll get all that removed, And then at that point, I'm gonna start pulling the nut off, getting the hub off of there, and the bearings and so forth. I guess that's what you call that part right there. So, and I'll have to take the wheel cylinders out as well. A couple bolts there on each side. Like I said, I'll probably replace those as well. Those look pretty old, so it's, you know, good measure on those types of things. So, all right, yeah, we'll see you in a bit. All right, I got the wheel cylinder out of there, and like I said, that thing is really old. All these parts are very old, so that's going to get replaced as well. If the hardware kit somehow isn't available, then I'll clean up those parts and reuse them, but most likely it is, so not a big deal. What I'm videoing here is this is a dust shield, and then looks like some kind of a gasket or something that's behind that. I am replacing the axle itself, so there's no real need to take that off. You know, to get this piece off. It should all come out as one piece. The backing plate is loose because I took those 4 bolts out. So I'm just gonna start hammering on it with my dead blow, and I should be able to pop that thing loose. It's a tapered shaft that goes inside there, and basically this castle nut here pushing on the hub against that creates a tight seal and holds it in there. So, all right, here we go. All right, and there it is. Took about 10 good whacks. So just getting a look at things here. Looks like the, there's the race. And then the bearing on that. That's gonna be a pressed on item. So I'm gonna get this all the way out and take a look at the inside of that axle tube. All right, I got the driver's side axle out, and interestingly enough, I didn't even really have to whack on it with that dead blow. I tapped on it just one time, getting ready to whack it, and it was already coming out. So that tells me that this, number one, that race should have been pressed in there, so that was loose, if I'm not mistaken. Back when my wife and I were about to be married, I had a 78 CJ7, and I had gone up to Ohio and bought what was that, a 1980 Jaguar XJ12 from my dad, who was a used car salesman on the side, and towed that thing back. I was going to give it to my wife as a wedding gift. It had some electrical problems that I was going to try to fix. But anyway, nice, cool car. But I towed it back on a tow dolly with that CJ7. And just like a week later, we were clearing out, maybe 2 weeks later, we were clearing out her apartment. And my bearing, I'd heard that there were some bearings talking to me from the back of the vehicle for some time. I knew it had to have been associated with that. Anyhow, long story short, while my brother and I were pulling out of her parking lot, the axle literally came out on the driver's side. I was looking in my side mirror, and and the Jeep just dropped down on that side. So this reminds me of that. This was probably in progress itself. So that's certainly something that you do not want to have happen, you know, when you're going 65 miles an hour down the highway. Fortunately, I was in a parking lot, so I wasn't going that fast. We didn't wreck or anything like that, but that was a sight to remember. Anyhow, got to figure out how to get those backing plates off now. I think I'm gonna have to press the bearing off, and that'll, yeah, have to press the bearing off of there, I believe, to get those off of there. So at this point, I'm gonna punt on that evolution. Go ahead and get this differential cover off here. I know this is probably gonna be somewhat of a chore because, let's see, which one was it? This one actually right here. I know that one's stripped out. These others, I'm gonna clean that out real good first, but it's a Torx bit. Hopefully they're not gonna give me too much trouble, but I know that one's gonna require some special adaptation to try to get out. So here we go. All right, I'm down to one final bolt. I did happen to get this one out. It's just in there holding the cover on for when I get this booger out right here. But for anybody else who's gonna attempt this, if you've got Torx bolts in your diff cover, what I recommend doing is cleaning the head, you know, completely out so it's clean, and then taking your Torx bit and tapping it in there. Make sure it seats fully. Pull it back out of there. Tap on the bolt several times with a hammer, not too hard, but several times just to kind of jar it loose. At least for mine, every single one of them were really tight, and my impact gun here wouldn't even get them loose until, well, there were probably 3 or 4 of them I got loose without having to use the vice grips first, which is what I did with this. I got onto the head of the thing, clamped down on it, but on this last bolt here, for some reason, I mean, it's just slipping no matter how tight I get it. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep trying to do it with vice grips, I guess, and if I can't get it, I'll end up having to cut the head of that thing off, and that's gonna be a mess because I'll have to drill out the bolt and everything else. I hope I don't have to do that. So anyway, here we go. All right, I finally got that booger out of there, so you can see how I chewed it up pretty good with the vice grips. And once it broke free, I was able to get it with the impact. So got that out of there. Taking a look at the gears here. This is the ring gear here. That's the open differential unit. So the carrier. These are bearing caps. And the pinion gears hiding in there on the other side of this whole get up right here. So these have to go back in. There's up right there, so they have to go back in that orientation, but they also have to go back in on the correct side. So I am going to mark these. I'll probably mark, you know, put a divot on this bearing cap and put 2 on that one, and then write it in my notes so I know which one went to which side. But I am going to stop here for today. A little tired, been working on this long enough. So anyhow, the gears actually at this point don't look that bad. They're, you know, I have to get them out and get a full exam of them, but yeah, somebody may have been inside this thing before. I don't know. But anyway, I'm stopped for today. Interesting thing to note here, a guy, you can do it too, had said the same thing. This is a rubber seal that comes out of here. And you would think that this was some kind of a cork gasket, you know, and you'd use RTV and so forth. But this is actually made with an indentation there, little recess, so that rubber seal sits inside there. So I'll get that all cleaned up once I get all that out of there, and get some brake cleaner and spray it in there and clean that out real good and make sure everything's clean before I start assembly. But that's going to do it for today. So I'll catch you guys next time. Later.